What is up, everyone? I am thrilled to be back in the podcast host seat. I've had a couple solo episodes here lately, and it feels really good to have a friend, a brother in Christ in the room, in the house with us. Setema, it is so good to have you here. If you guys don't know him, you're about to find out real fast, real quick, all the deets of his life, but ultimately to know that he is a brother and he is someone who is resilient. He is someone who is vulnerable. And these are all buzzwords, I know, but we're about to find out why. And we already know by who he gets to show up in that way. So, Setema, thank you so much for coming and hanging out on the Messenger Movement podcast.
Tamara, what a blessing and an honor, and it is all mine. So thank you so much for having me. I'm so looking forward to being with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's jump in. I want to know, and I want the audience to find out because I kind of already know. So let's be honest. I've done a little bit of research over here. Tell me about your story of resilience and what that has done in your life and why you show up in this way now.
There's a handful of opportunities that God has given me. Right. When you look back in ancient scriptures, where you see Joseph of Egypt, 20 years, right, in prison, sold by his brothers. You look at other people, like the adversity and the fire that forged them. We read it today and we're like, oh, that's cool. What we don't realize is how hot the fire had to burn, how long and dark and treacherous the path was so they could be prepared. One of my first moments of resilience is I had 5 shoulder surgeries at Brigham Young University. So I'm playing college football, 5 surgeries. Now, as an athlete, you have the surgery, but it messes with your mind because you want to start and you got to rehab and you see others playing and you start to doubt yourself. And as collegiate athletes, I know because I coach some today, like with their mindset. That was the first one. And that was tough because every year I'm like, okay, God, I've given my life to you. I'm converted to Christ. I did a 2-year mission for my church. Like, please let me just like thrive.
Yeah.
And every surgery like put me back farther and farther. So the last one was because of the 5th surgery, I didn't get drafted to the NFL. I was home rehabbing my right shoulder. I learned how to play the piano that year, so I can play this piano. I do a lot of we do a lot of gospel, a lot of church, spiritual things with my sons. But because of that experience, I actually got to choose the team I went to, and God guided me to the Patriots. And of course, we win a Super Bowl. Like to win a Super Bowl is like, oh my gosh, I can look back and they say hindsight's 2020.
Sure.
So you can only see it when you look back and say, I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
So come home after the NFL was short. It was great. But 2004, 2003, 2004, I started doing mortgages. And I'm doing mortgages and I'm doing real estate and we're killing it back then, like crazy amounts of money.
Yep.
But deep in my heart, my soul would say, this is not your path. And you know it. Like, I think for some of those who are listening, Tamara, like we all have this voice inside that resonates with the Lord's voice, right? The voice of the shepherd. And I just knew my path was to influence, persuade, to inspire, to impact, to make a difference, to liberate. Yes. And like I'd see these speakers on stages and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know it. So 2008 rolls around and I'm starting to do that. Well, the recession hits back in 2008. Big recession, right? That's real estate, mortgage, contractors, houses. So we lose everything. When I say lose everything, I mean cars get repossessed, can't pay the payroll, lose my office equipment, lose my leases. I had properties all over the country, from Florida to Atlanta to Hawaii to Vegas to Utah, like gone, short sold. I'm bankrupt. Sold my Super Bowl ring. So to get to the Super Bowl it's like dang near impossible. Then I take my ring, I sell that. I'm bankrupt. So I'm now on the bottom in my mid-30s. I'm like, so were my best days behind me, Lord? Are my boys just going to know about this guy that played football? Right. But in my heart, I always knew, like I believe some of the listeners out there, like, no, we were meant for more. There's so much potential. There's so much. I love the quote you said. There's so much potential in there.
Yeah.
And that was just the setup, right? The setback was to create a comeback.
Yep.
So God takes me on a journey of being a door-to-door salesman. I listen to the voice. I go knock for 3 years. The voice says, "You're done. Time to go be a coach." Now I coach, I speak, I train, I am an author, I have a podcast. I've helped so many amazing people. It's not about the number of people, just these
Right.
people, these lives. And we moved from Utah to Utah, Canada, Orange County. Voice says, "Okay, time to go to Florida." We moved to Florida. Then it's like time to go to Vegas, time to go to Vegas. And I hear the voice and I go.
Wow. Yeah.
So when you talk about resilience, right, I call it the bounce back rate. How fast can you bounce back? Because it's not a matter of if.
Yeah.
You're gonna get knocked down, you're gonna get your teeth kicked in, you're gonna have like cuts from like figurative cuts from the dragons, and that you got to slay these dragons, you got to go through the fire, and it's gonna hurt. But if it doesn't burn you, it doesn't build you. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And so my story of resilience is to let people know, look, it doesn't matter if you get knocked down, because you're gonna get knocked down. It's, do you have enough reason to get back up? Do you have enough why, holy cause, to be like, this is where I get to figure out what I'm truly made of.
Yeah. Wow. There's so many things bouncing around in my brain that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
The word obedience and discipline, they just keep coming to my spirit because one, I know even just being an athlete, you have to have both of those things, right? Just from a practice perspective, which then leads to performance, not perfection, but to the highest caliber of where you were. But when you go and you put those same practices into something like rebuilding your life after bankruptcy, what type of practical things from an obedience and discipline level beyond just moving around the country, because that does take a lot of both of those, did you do? What were the things that you recognized, if I
Yeah.
do this, then
Yeah.
this will come?
So number one was, I needed to feast upon the words of Christ. I needed to feast upon the word. That had to be a daily occurrence, because that would nourish my spirit. That would keep the windows of heaven open so I could hear.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to hear it if you don't, but I just know, for me, a spiritual practice of prayer, study, meditation was critical. Number two, physical workout. Like, I never stopped working out. So I mean, I was broke, I was depressed, I was overweight, but man, I'd go to the gym and I'm like, let's go, let's go. And I'd sweat. I'm like, I'm pushing my body, because pushing your body accesses power. Like, I can't control interest rates, and I
Right.
can't control what people do on the news and what governments and what other, but I can control what I put in my mouth, or as far as food and nutrition, and how much I push my body. So that was one. So between the spiritual component and the physical component, then the number three is, I always found a way to invest in myself.
Mm.
I'd borrow money, I'd sell stuff to go to seminars when I just did not have it. Now it's like, hey, this is what I do. It's who I am. So, like, it's not about the how, but it's about the who. Who do you know? Who knows you? The who, the great who is, right, the Lord. So you ask about obedience, these tiny, simple things of exercise, of study. Again, just making there's some of these simple things that
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
it builds discipline, right? And so those things, the small and simple, tiny, what we call dominoes. If I can hit that first domino, like do that workout, it starts to domino, boom, 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 other things. If I study the word, it inspires me. It opens my mind. If I meditate and slow down and get away from the distractions, changes frequency. So those are some of the small, tiny things that I'm like, if I could just do these things every day, and again, read a book, read
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
it changes everything.
Well, and that's an access point, I think, even for some of the listeners. So if they're like, man, I don't feel like I even have the capability of doing those things or getting in that room or going to that location, those seminars, those conferences. I love conferences. I'm not a conference junkie to the extent that I've seen some people, but I go because of the relationships, right? It's less about what I learn from stage, because eventually those things start to all sound the same, but it's about being in the room with the people who are willing and are desiring that level of shift, that level of transformation, because that's iron sharpening iron. That's us being on one accord. That's saying, "Oh my gosh, we're all in this space. we all hear from heaven at the same time. And now we go out and multiply that message that was particularly created at that event. But you said something here is for those people who don't feel like that's a possibility or a capability. One, you sold things to get in the room. That takes faith and that takes trust. But additionally, like the books nowadays, right? Like I am such a passionate person, that word, not only the word, the living word, the Bible being our massive number one, numero uno worship, like the thing that is the biggest resource. But also, you have a book and I have a book, and there's so many messengers who have books that are really profound. Is there anything in the book that you have yet to mention that you could give us a taste of, that would really encourage somebody to go out and get that as a resource on their bedside table?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tamara. I love that question. So one of the greatest things that helped me to get back on top, right? One of the greatest things that I teach, or that again, it's not even mine. I took it from other people, and it's truth is truth. But it's this concept of we all have this who we believe we are. And when you get your butt kicked for 3, 4 years and you don't make money for 3 or 4 years, and you kind of get out of shape and you break your word and you don't keep your word, you start to think to yourself, man, I'm kind of a loser. I'm not that great. I'm really, and then you repeat these things. Like, how many times have you said, I am not good enough? I don't
Right.
belong. I'm not worthy. And you don't say it, or you do say it, but you think it.
Mhm.
So inside of the book, there is a model we call conscious self-creation, is literally how to figurative, how to rewire and reprogram your mind and who you believe you are. This is not like, airy fairy woo woo. It's when people do this. I had a client of mine who was losing $250,000 a month in his business. He was going down, like going down. Comes to the program, and it was this protocol what he started to shift, because you get beat up for so long,
Yeah.
you just have a reality like, I guess I'm just, my best days are behind me. This self-talk, this changed, like it rewired his brain. It rewired how he spoke, how he saw himself, how he saw the world. And it is, of all the things we do, I think all the clients say this is one of the most powerful things that they have ever done in their life. And I teach you exactly how to do it. It's not, it's more like, if people think, oh, this is like an affirmation. No,
Yeah.
affirmation would be like a horse and a buggy. This is like rocket fuel in a rocket ship. Like, this is like Star Trek, like beam me to the other side, like get like, whoa, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So that's in the book,
Wow.
and I highly recommend you go, because if that's all you took, if
Yeah.
that's all you got was to rewire your thinking, I want you to imagine, could you help your children to wire themselves to be achievers, and to
Mhm.
be lovers and leaders and lighthouses, to be beacons? That's the power of having the book. My son's reading my book. He's 15,
I love it.
and he's like, dude, like, Dad, I've heard you say all this stuff before, but it's so cool in the book. So yeah.
That's amazing. I have yet to give my kids, they're 10 and 12, the opportunity to read any of my books, specifically the one that shares my mess that became my message, knowing that those things just keep happening. Like you said, like, it's just not one, there's multiple and they just keep happening. But man, do they build your character? Do they make you more like Christ? Do they make you more of an influence? Because in and through this idea of vulnerability and this idea of resilience that you're speaking to, we have an opportunity to show that it is possible, and it's possible with God, and it's possible to renew our minds. A lot of people do think that that's like a woo woo element, but it's literally scriptural. So for those who are confused on that, get the book, find out the actual way that that happens. Neuroplasticity is a gift from God. It's the way that he created us to be and to become, because he already knew that we were going to have all this negative self-talk. And I think the biggest thing that I hear in all of this is that you had to get outside of yourself. So Tema, you had to get outside of the problem. You had to get outside of the woe is me, this is my predicament. And you had to literally be a vessel and say, I am empty, I've got nothing. And you picked up your cross and you just kept walking with the nothing that you had until it became something. As you influence and have all of these incredible people that you coach now, do you have any like stories that just blow your mind, that beyond the person who lost all that money month by month and now they're walking this way, that they had to do the same thing. They mirrored that surrender, that crosswalk experience to their own now place of winning, that place of achievement, that place of holistic health. Because I know holistic success, it's not money, it's the all natural, it's the ultimate being.
Well, I love this question because we talk about success, like
Yeah.
financial success. But in our what I call game changer, there's physical, which is your body and your fitness. There's spiritual, which is your being and your connection, your faith to God. There's relational, which is the marriage, family, right? The relationships are some of the most important things ever because
Right.
we get to take them with us.
Yes.
And then there's the financial, which is your job. Inside of these four domains is how we live. And I'll tell you this, I've got all clients who know, oh, I paid off these debts and I hit seven figures and I hit eight figures. Like those are amazing stories. But
Sure.
some of the best stories are when I meet a man who's like, I'm like, where are you with God? And he's like, well, honestly, God's like Santa Claus. We didn't grow up talking about God. And so I would challenge these men to start to pray
Mm.
and start to study the word and go find a church and I push him. 2 years later, I remember one guy comes to another event, puts his hand on my chest. He's crying. He's like this close from me. I'm like, whoa. And he's like, when I met you, God, church, nothing. Today, I lead a men's group in my church. We have a great church home in our community. We all got baptized. And those stories to me
Yeah.
are some of the best. Or when a wife says, thank you for bringing my husband and our daddy back.
Mm.
And she sends pictures of their date night. She's like, we were on the fringe of divorce. We were about to be done. And my husband came back from your program and he dates me and he loves me and he messages me and he's like, it's been like 8 months. This was not one of those 2 week and then go back.
Right, right, right.
There's a permanent change. And so when I see, and then I just literally got off a call with some clients right now, and two of them said, yeah, I've made awesome money. I've lost weight, but I talk to my kids now, my adult kids, because you showed me how to reconnect. And he said this, and these guys are in tears. They're like, that was like, if that's all that happened from this investment I made with you, this was like a million times return on investment. And again, another guy in the group he's older, he's a grandpa, and he's emotional. He's like, man, I'm so happy. I got the stuff, but I'm back to what matters in our language and Game Changer. We call this alignment.
Yeah.
Alignment before achievement, right, creates that real straight line of peace. So I just love what we do. I love how we do it. Again, you and I, we are on the same team. We're all on this team of doing what's required, doing what's right, lifting people up, moving people, inspiring them, and getting people to cut off the things that don't work.
Yeah. You said the word connection earlier and the power of relationships. And I think when people don't recognize that it's not about their situation, it's about the disconnection that they've made from themselves as the as the first thing. Like they've literally disconnected from themselves. And so that's where having a connection with God roots your identity, creates that initial alignment to get your eyes off of yourself and up to like the intention of your life, the very breath that you've been given. And what do I do with that? And the first people in our spheres, our family, our children, our spouses, like those are the people that we get to impact so profoundly beyond what the world will ever see. And so to go away from being a messenger who's all about being on a podcast or being on a stage or going out to the world, which is a part of our call, and going first into the home, the nucleus of what that looks like, those private wins, I think are the most, like you said, prolific, profound. I would do that work. If that was the only work I got to do is like go home and love your husband or go home and love your wife, that your children, man, we win. We win every single day if we can do that, because what's happening is we are creating the legacy levers of those kids and of the other people who are impacting people every day. So this is definitely a generational message, a generational movement that you have. And I love that your son is partaking in that. I can see him on stage right next to you doing it before long.
Thank you so much. I will say this, that this is a work that has been inspired. Like there's times I don't know if you've ever felt this, but there's times where I'm like, man, I'm just forget this changing lives. I'm just gonna go make some money. Let me just go make some money. And I can always feel in my heart, like, no, like I feel like the Lord's like, let me fight your battles, but you go do what I need you to do, and you go help the people that you're supposed to help. And whenever I meet these people and they come to me and they're like, thanks, Setema, like you're the real deal. I know when they say that, immediately I'm just like, thank you, Lord,
Yeah.
for reminding me of who I am and my path to build your kingdom to make a difference. So I'm so grateful for the work that I get to be a part of.
It's really exciting. And you guys, he is not a solo silo out there in the world. There are so many like him. And what I love most about it, though, is that there's none like you. Even though there might be other coaches and there might be other people with a perceivingly similar bankruptcy story. And one of the reasons I just love to have people to be able to interact with them, because you have such a different dynamic element to you. And yet we're all the same under one voice, one sound, because of who we are made in Christ to be like Christ. So to pursue together, like that gets me so excited. But then to do it uniquely is what's so wonderful about being friends with, about being a part of this walk of life that is so wild. I want to bring up one final thing, and you may or may not have been connected, but it's something that's happening in just like the messenger movement as a whole, based on what happened with Charlie Kirk this past week. The loss of a life, a loss of a messenger, the loss of a brother. And this happens not just through evil of this type. I've seen suicides happen in the last year of brothers. I've seen people through depression who have, again, lost that disconnected piece of themselves, and they're just in a hole. They might still be on this side of heaven, but they're just not alive. And I'd love to hear what your wisdom is in that regard of like, how can we bring not only legacy to the conversation here, but also through your program, allow people to come back to life?
So I have one of my shirts on is called Game Changer. I only wear my t-shirts
I
unless
love
I
that.
wear like a specific shirt to go out. So, when I started this, I felt inspired, like I was supposed to do this. And to talk about what you're like, I know 3 people last week who reached out and they're like, man, I was suicidal this week. I'm like, there is this heaviness. There's a spiritual warfare. We know that. And with the passing of Charlie Kirk and what happened there as an influencer, my message to people is this, right? And again, this is something Stephen Scoggins says, right? Our friend, it's like, you have to be the one to help others recognize that they are the one. In other words, I help people understand, like, if you feel called that you are that one for your family, that you've always been different, you've been called, you're not like most people, then you have to choose that path of becoming the game changer. In spiritual language, you have to choose the path of discipleship. So when we talk about legacy, right, we know, and I believe that it's not just the physical money and the trust and the stuff. It's what you leave in their heart. And the only way, this is like the virgins and the lamps, right? That
For
is
sure.
coming up for me. You can't just go take it from someone. You have to do the daily work every single day, the small, boring, arduous, laborious, mundane, non-sexy work of discipline, of commitment, of determination, of grit, of grind. Like, you have to do these things. And it's an individual path. Now, while you're filling your lamp and you're becoming and you're preparing to leave legacy with others, you leave the legacy with others by how you show up for them every day in that example. So I just know if someone's listening to your podcast or my podcast or a podcast and the Spirit's starting to touch their heart, you got to listen. If you don't listen, you're like people in the scriptures in the past who were called many times, but they couldn't hear it. And then pretty soon God's like, all right, you don't want to listen? I'm going to send a dang whirlwind after. I'm going to hit you in the face with a brick. So listen and like go down the path. And if the voice prompts you to speak and to do something, even though it's scary, trust. If God's telling you to do it, he's going to open up the path. He's going to open up the Red Sea. He's going to shut the mouth of the lions. He's going to provide the way for you to build the ship, to cross an ocean, to live your calling, but you got to take the first step. So that's my message about legacy. And again, if you are someone who's contemplating and you're so down and you can barely understand anything we're saying because you're so depressed, I know what that's like. Just make a promise and say, I promise I will reach out to someone. And just say right now, I promise I will reach out to someone. And all you got to do is reach out to someone and say, hey, I just need to talk. I just need help, because we need you. Like we need you. People need you. Don't do anything that's irrational, but make that promise and stay with this. And then you get to go live your legacy.
Man, that's like a simple, profound action, just that alone. And I think we can get into the place, even being forerunners, even being people who are activated as game changers. We have our moments. There are those seasons. And so for us to be empowered enough to ask for help, that shows true humility. And so all of these things, we can be like go-getters and like all of that. But I think if none of it is parallel to humility, we actually aren't operating like Christ at all. And we can get into our own flesh of pride. And so I can see that humility in you. I'm grateful. When I saw the initial image of you selling your Super Bowl ring, I was just like, that's it. He picked up his cross. Like, that didn't matter. He was willing to let it all go. And all of that being the identity that the world placed on you as significant versus what God has said about you, Setema. So I'm grateful for what he said about you and what you're doing. And I'm just so glad that all the messengers who are listening to this had an opportunity to connect with you. You guys can do that further in all the links below in the show. And be sure to go listen to The Game Changer so you can get information and wisdom like this on the regular. And I feel like I need to go to the gym right now to pump some iron. So let's go.
Thank you so much, Tamara. God bless you, sister. Keep up the great work and love you very much.
Love you too. Thanks so much. Be blessed.